Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Monday, you New Yorkers.
I know Jamie and I are in the same city. Ships passing in the night because I'm leaving. He just got here.
Literally just got here, recording from the Delta Lounge at JFK, if anyone's at the airport.
I will say we must be like the most, background versatile podcast, because one of us is like always changing, except for Michael. Michael's always same old, but we're constantly on the move.
And I'm not even jealous about it. You know, in my younger years, I loved to be anywhere and everywhere, but I enjoy home now.
Yeah.
And the occasional trip.
That's fair. Well, Jamie, what are you doing in New York?
I'm here for AirDNA leadership team meetings. So we've got all of our execs flying into New York here for the week. So we're going out for jazz tonight as a team bonding exercise.
And love that.
Team bonding, jazz.
Where's Jeff Lulon when we need him?
There will be no tattoos tonight.
Oh, that's what you say now, Jamie. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
GMH on the arm. Yeah. What happens in New York, I guess.
So, if anyone's in the city and wants to meet up for lunch or coffee, feel free to hit me up.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, we missed you last week. It was quite an intense news cycle. All circled around one big name, two big names in hospitality, Sonder and Marriott. If you didn't catch our episode last week, we were rapidly getting into the literally breaking news, and the story continued to evolve. But long story short, Sonder did end up in bankruptcy, filing Chapter 7 after some crazy, hectic timelines. Jamie, do you want to go through the timelines, or do you want to weigh in on some of your thoughts first?
And did listen to the show. I was driving back to Atlanta from North Carolina. It was crazy to see sort of how everything seemed to collapse at the last minute. And now with the bankruptcy filings, it's clear that things really did sort of fall apart at the last minute. I think you guys even opined that you thought that some sort of last minute financing or purchase lender agreement must have sort of fallen through at the last minute. And then we saw that, right? So Sonder, it was clear that they were going to, and they didn't have enough cash to keep going. They looked to get in additional financing in September, and even tried to find a sale in October. They looked like they had a financing partner, and then they pulled out at the last minute on November 3rd. Sonder then had to notify Marriott on November 6th that they're running out of cash, get a last-minute loan, and then Marriott noticed them of default and ended the licensing agreement on November 7th the next day. So a whole lot happened, in that month-long period.
Yeah.
So we were also talking about this last-minute pullout with the lender. Thinking that Marriott might have had a better way to smooth this over than they did by just immediately pulling out. But I guess it was just the end, and they're cutting their losses. But it seems they've gotten a lot of heat for the way that they have handled this.
Yeah, if it's the end of September and you're like, oh crap, we are really on our last straw. We got to figure something out fast. I mean, I'm the kid that did the homework 2 days before it was due, not waiting until the night of. But it seems like you're putting yourself in a pretty tough financial situation if you're waiting 45 days until day zero to go out and try and raise money, or even to try and transact. I will give the Vacasa team kudos for finding two buyers. They had DK and Costigo wanting to transact and lining up. It was probably a more attractive asset and longer timelines to due diligence than what Sonder seemed to give their prospective buyers. But in the end, I mean, we've seen Sonder had a lot of struggles reporting financials. Obviously, their financials were an absolute mess, and it ended in a financial disaster. And it's something that they should have seen coming. I'm not sure they could have done anything about it one way or another, so I'm not going to knock that aspect of it. But I feel like you had to have seen this coming. And again, kudos to the Vacasa team for getting through a transaction when the writing was on the wall. Sonder was unable to do it.
Well, they did have a lender in their defense, lined up, that pulled out kind of at the last minute. So I don't know. In this whole story, I just the last couple months when you are just throwing anything at the wall to see what's going to happen. You also don't live in this world where you want the end to be so close. And they probably thought that Marriott was just going to scoop them up. That's kind of been this whole partnership. So there might have been some, I don't know, optimism at play that was clouding their judgment.
True. Yeah. If you have lending lined up and Marriott is a fail safe,
right?
Then you got to feel fairly comfortable. That's a good point. I can't imagine the amount of stress from November 2nd until November 7th that the team was under when the prospective lender pulled out and then everything crashed.
That email, or however they received that information, just brutal. That's yeah.
And I'd be interested and from November 6th to November 7th, what was sort of putting Sonder into default the only option for Marriott? And were they sort of legally bound, or could they have sort of given it a week and found alternative accommodations for everyone that was in those Sonder properties? The abruptness of it all, I think, is what people just didn't expect from a brand like Marriott, of essentially giving people 12-hour notice to get out of their listings and find other accommodation. And if you book through an OTA, call that OTA, because we can't really help you.
Yeah, Marriott extended incremental financing on November 6th and then literally closed the doors on the 7th. So,
incremental by 20 hours.
That's a very quick turnaround. I mean, that was obviously just flushed money down the drain. That might have just been a panic. Here's some money. We'll figure this out tomorrow. And then just decided it's a lost cause at that point. But I think we'll continue to see more of this story evolve over time. What our regular scheduled programming last week typically is right after earnings, is to go through earnings discussions. And boy, did Expedia kill it. And their stock bumped. I think the after hours was up 17% right after the earnings. Jamie, tell us why.
Yeah, and we sort of heard it from Booking, and it was almost 4 or 5 weeks ago that they had a great quarter. So it sort of teed Expedia and Airbnb up for some big upside, and they both sort of beat consensus. They both beat Wall Street's estimates. So Expedia, B2C, their consumer businesses, Airbnb or Vrbo, Expedia and Hotels.com was up 7%. Versus Q2 was only up 1%. So we're all sort of really worried going into this quarter. Could it go negative? Were they going to be able to re-accelerate? And they definitely did. Vrbo was returned to growth and low single digits, but where the first half of the year was sort of flat, first 2024, that's good. They're sort of back to growth. But and one thing that concerned me a bit in listening to Expedia's earnings was that they sort of noted that for Vrbo, Q3, 20% of the bookings were from their promotion suite. So supplier funded discounts, and that was up from 10% in Q2. So we had Tim on the podcast. He talked about these new features that they're rolling out to suppliers, essentially like ways to give certain guests discounts. And it does look like in the quarter for the corner sort of summer bookings in Q3, they really benefited from these discounts. And it's just a question of and where the economy is and where it was this summer, and is it just discounting that's going to drive growth, or is overall travel industry sort of is it healthy or not? And then Michael, and this is the last one, but I expect you'll get to it. And B2B bookings up 26% year over year, and they are just firing at all cylinders with their B2B business. And now in Q3, this is the first quarter that Vrbo was sort of part of this B2B system that they have. So offering Vrbo properties part of their B2B business, maybe this will be able to drive further growth for them in the future.
Yeah, I have been a very open fan of the B2B side of Expedia, and I think it's only going to get better and better as we look at where AI is going to go. And my guess is the AI lords are going to want their hand out, and so the B2B program jumps right in. And then I still think there has to be something with the social media platforms, and there's no better partner than the Expedia B2B platform side. To go back to the consumer pricing, Jamie, could it just be that as consumers on digital purchases, we're used to seeing discounts? Like I go into Amazon and it's like, here's my regular things that I need. I'm going to just wait until it's discounted and then I'll buy it, and wait till it's discounted and then I'll buy it. Could it just be consumer conditioning, or do you think it's actually because, whatever price is now actually 5%, 10% less? Or is it because consumer behavior where we see a discount, we think we're getting a deal, we book it?
And it could be, but from what I've heard about a lot of those Amazon businesses of like getting pushed to do all these discounts, and then like the profitability of these items, like it all gets sort of pushed down to the bottom, and you're discounting sort of erodes your margin. So I'm interested to talk to property managers that are leveraging the discounts. Like, are they sort of just taking an artificially high price and lowering it, or are they actually eating into some of their margin by offering these discounts? And like, is it a trick or is it not?
Yeah, I also think Q3 is an interesting quarter because I think across the board, it's usually not a strong quarter in this industry. You don't have the summer rush, right? If these are bookings in the quarter for the quarter, so it could just be a good time for the operators to try to get some traction. Sorry, the summer quarter is usually very good, but I'm curious if it was just like a fire sale of like the end of the inventory, right? For that they didn't sell previously. But I also am concerned about all of these different discounting options because I think it kind of points to a little bit of panic on the supplier side. Like this is, if we're getting a lot of bookings from here, if people are just trying to get whatever they can get from the OTAs, you're still paying your percentages, and we'll get into Airbnb's kind of host fees later. But I don't think it's a great to have another tool. And I was really happy when we talked with Tim about this, but it just makes me nervous that it is doing so well, because that means that people are driving a lot of discounts.
Yeah. But we've seen continuous compression for 2 years, Jamie, 3 years of nights booked. But Airbnb just stated in their Q3 earnings that they didn't tell us how much, but they saw a slight expanding of that booking window, which is great to hear, Jamie. I'm curious what the actual data is behind that. Is it going from 13.2 nights to 13.4 nights, or what that actually looks like? But I think people are going to panic if they're 10 days out and they want to fill nights, because heads in beds are better than empty rooms.
Yeah, I'll say, and because we've talked about it before, the thing that this industry, vacation rentals, short-term rentals, needs to do better at is figuring out how to discount and how to get the premium price when you can. But then if you're not getting that price, and how and when to discount. And I think the OTA is offering these sort of promotional tools and how to roll them out, and they called out like a lot of the growth was from member-only discounts for one key member. So if this is a very specific group of people that you're offering that to, and this could be an incremental driver of bookings, and especially now that Vrbo listings are showing up on Expedia. So I'm hopeful that this is all going to be incremental and not just eating into margins for property managers, but it's something to keep an eye on. And Michael, because you sort of transitioned us there on Airbnb, and they sort of called out the increasing lead times. This was a great quarter again for Airbnb. They accelerated nights booked up to 9% in the quarter versus 7% in Q2. And it's important that we remember for nights booked, this is nights that were booked in Q3 for future reservations. So the other thing that Airbnb rolled out I think it was in May, was reserve now, pay later. And this was a key feature that Airbnb sort of called out in the US of what drove nights acceleration was people booking and well in advance, not having to pay. And those were nights that were sort of counted for this quarter. So they noted that North America nights booked was roughly 5% versus around 2% in Q2. And so there's this question, and some of the analysts sort of called it out, and are these bookings actually going to turn to stays, or are people just going to cancel them later?
Yeah.
Do the put order.
So this could just be a pull forward of bookings that actually don't even and turn into bookings. Fortunately, it is, and most of these were sort of in the quarter for the quarter, because Q3 is such a big month for stays, and most of them did. Though the Airbnb did call out that cancellations were up slightly because of this new policy. So
you're booking a couple listings, canceling the ones you don't want.
But you can see that coming in, and if they have, depending on what the cancellation policies are, this could be a way to get around the cancellation policies. It's a good feature that has downstream effects like cancellation rates. So I'll be fascinated to see. Airbnb is all about conversions, but it's also conversion all the way down the stream to nights
to staying,
booked, right? And experiences apparently in their P&L. So nights booked and experiences. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think it's in general where the whole market's going. Everyone is paying for everything later. And what's the U.S. economy debt up to? And trillions, many trillions. So
yeah, a scary number, a number that frankly doesn't sound real.
So Terry White, the Expedia mobile deal is very effective. It's always my most underperforming channel, but the deal is working very well. So heard it here first. The Expedia discounting and the how many years of integrations did they take to weave Vrbo into Expedia? They're seeing the benefits of it, and when you have a after hours bump of 15 to 17% for a very mature company, you see it in the numbers.
All the people that struggled through all that technology back-end integration, dealt with all of people like us chattering about it, like what's taking so long. There must be a little feel of like vindication. Like it was worth it.
Did it. Yeah, that's going to be hard.
Yeah. And then because Terry mentioned, I'll note that Airbnb called out that in-app bookings grew by 17%. So bookings made through their phone app are now 62% of overall bookings. and they saw a 3% decline on desktop bookings.
Still crazy to me. Still crazy.
It is all phone and ways to drive incremental bookings, and for someone booking. And like Terry said, mobile app is where it's at.
So, Jamie, we've got the buy now, pay later, or book now, pay later, and we've got the discounting from Expedia. Those are more business levers than market conditions. So it kind of scares me that neither had necessarily much better market condition improvements, but more, or potentially more drafted on the changes of the business plan or the business model. Is there anything concerning there for us?
I'm not concerning because we expected it to be sort of this slow growth environment, and expectations of U.S. growth anywhere from 3 to 5%, like, and they were slightly higher than that, 1 or 2% higher. Like, I don't think is concerning. I was sort of encouraged by them, and Airbnb and Vrbo, and we heard it earlier from Booking. No one sort of called out the government shutdown as an impediment to the business. So as they got into October, and they all called out that October is looking really good. They even saw some acceleration into October. And then both Expedia and Airbnb upped their guidance for Q4. So everyone's feeling a little bit better. Airbnb did roll out their buy now, pay later or book now, pay later to other countries. So we're going to start to see the impact of this sort of flowing through to Europe, Canada, other places. And we probably don't have to get too much into it, but they also called out sort of record applications for their services and experiences business. So that is something that we haven't seen yet as a meaningful part of their revenue or experiences or seats booked. But that's something that may be coming given the sort of the applications are a forward indicator of future supply.
Well, the big feature that it's not an experience, but the service that has been touted has been the addition or the partnership with Instacart. And this is getting everybody like so excited. I mean, it's a great service. I think it's cool. I don't know if it deserves the level of like, oh my God, this is groundbreaking that it's kind of getting right now, but it's cool seeing it roll out in a couple of cities. Logistically, I find this to be something that I don't know how it would work really at scale. I can see some properties really doing well with this, but I think it's just a cool feature. And I'm sure there's going to be someone that does both and has some fiery Reddit comments down the line, which I will try to find, but it's cool. I don't know. I don't think it deserves the crazy fanfare, but I think it's an interesting partnership.
Yep. We know Airbnb is an absolute PR machine, and Instacart's a household name. Airbnb is too. I think I've used Instacart 3 times in my life. Maybe other people use it religiously. I'd rather save the money, but call me cheap. And when you're on vacation, yes, I don't know about you guys, but typically the first day you drop your bags, you go to the grocery store, you stock up, you eat out, you have leftovers, you cook a couple nights, whatever. I think there's certainly an application there, but I don't think in the end it's going to be anything impactful or meaningful for the bottom line.
Yeah. And what I was excited about in the release was the sort of host incentive. So if a guest does it as a host, first time you're going to get $100. Each subsequent time you're going to get $25. I don't know. I suspect this is being funded by Instacart, not by Airbnb. So it's maybe not a change on their position there, but anything that Airbnb is offering that can just be some sort of incremental revenue coming into hosts, and it's not just something that Airbnb is sort of going around the host, circumventing the host to offer to the guests, I think is an incremental benefit. And if they see this as that being sort of the incremental driver, I know why it's a success for some of their experiences and services they're offering, and maybe this is a reason for them to start offering more incentive to hosts to promote some of their service offerings.
Yeah.
I can see the comment, the pictures now. Someone, the Instacart delivery driver, tries to drop off all the groceries. The code isn't working. They have to leave all of the groceries outside. The guest arrives, groceries are ruined. That is like something that was like one of the first things I thought is like all these guests that have trouble getting into their homes, like the logistics of this. But it also, if you just show up at your vacation and the house is stocked, like that's also pretty awesome. So
that would be awesome. But yes, logistically speaking, we all know how hard it is to get inside. Most of the time, groceries are just dropped off at the front porch. Your flight's 2 hours late. Now your frozen pizza's spoiled and your meats are eaten by the raccoons. I mean, who knows?
The kids are screaming.
Turn into some funny things. I'll be excited to see some of the photos that play out here. But Jamie, my head went exactly the same as yours. Instacart is almost certainly subsidizing it, but if the adoption there is higher than the adoption of services business, maybe they say, well, we should maybe cut in the hosts that all of our services are taking place in their property. So seems pretty logical in that case. I don't know who made the decision otherwise, but somebody over there at Airbnb said, we're not going to share any revenue of this.
Not with the people that supply our product.
No, why would we?
And then sort of last topic maybe we can touch on is, and it was sort of buried in Airbnb's earnings call that they really talked about it, was the launch of hotels. So they're now piloting in 3 markets, LA, New York, and Madrid, that they will now have sort of dedicated and listing sites for hotels. I've gotten rid of the host page on those listings. You can actually select your room type, whether it's a king room, a queen, a suite, and that this is going to be something they're really highlighting in supply constrained markets. So if you're going into New York, you select a 1 or 2 day stay, they're going to be bringing those hotel listings front and center for people to book and see what the incremental sort of bookings are. They sort of called out that the demand's already there. They're just now going to point supply to it. So we're expecting this. I think this is and we've all predicted it maybe once over the past 10 years, and it finally is officially launched.
Yeah, I applaud the execution on this one, Airbnb. The listings look great. It's easy to understand why you launch in supply constrained markets where you're not eating up competition. What's gonna happen eventually is they just slowly and quietly add properties in competitive markets that aren't as supply constrained. But the PR and launching it the way they did, and then the execution from the design team, I think they did a really, really nice job on this one.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting to see Madrid on there. I mean, obviously Madrid's a very popular city. I would have thought that if they were looking at kind of the cities that are very supply constrained and very in the news with Airbnb and short-term rentals, I thought Barcelona would have been another option. But maybe Barcelona just hates Airbnb on such a visceral bone level that no one wanted to do it. I don't know. But I think we'll start to see those in like kind of the over tourist areas. I would think that would make sense, especially in Europe, for them to kind of pop up.
And Jamie, we have a question here from Terry White. Speaking about Airbnb, I jacked my rates 18.5% to offset the supplier commission. And it looks like they're still charging the guests a service fee. Is that the case? Are you hearing the same?
I'm not hearing that. And I did post on that over the weekend on sort of some of the changes that we saw with Airbnb. On October 27th, they moved for PMS connected listings from the split fee to host only fee. And we're scraping these listings every day. We saw 445,000 listings sort of move from split fee to host only fee. So that definitely happened, and we're looking at the sort of at the checkout, like what fees are being charged. So we're not broadly seeing that. And then What I thought was really interesting in the post was about this was how many hosts did we actually see raise their rates to offset that additional fee that they're now paying. And we saw for property managers, it was only like 30%, another 30% sort of partially covered it. And then another third sort of, we didn't see them increase the rates at all. So maybe, and quite a few property managers sort of doing a wait and see. And this is sort of a slower period for bookings, getting a sense of, okay, is everyone else raising their rates? Am I going to be sort of at a disadvantage if I fully offset my rates? And yeah.
Well, everybody's waiting to see what we're all. Are we all going to take a little bit of a hit just to see, because we don't want to be the highest rate in the area. It's like that Spider-Man meme of everyone pointing the gun at each other. Really an interesting couple weeks. Lots of little tidbits coming out. Jamie, we hope you have a great time in New York and maybe come back with a GMH tattoo, Wild Night of Jazz. You never know. Maybe an AirDNA tattoo to go with it. Michael, do you have any fun plans for the week?
I don't believe so. No, same old here.
Same old. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. All of our live listeners, Terry White, great to see you back on the show. You can find all of our links in the show notes, and like and subscribe. We will see all of you guys next week.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.